The other question that came up and what I wanted to talk with you about today is about our hunger hormones. The hormones that either stimulate us to eat or prevent us from eating, and how it all comes into play. And these hormones were actually really not identified until the early 90s. And I have a kind of a funny way of remembering which one does what, but leptin. You may have heard me talk about leptin. You may have heard Chelsea talk about leptin. It's a hormone that is found in our body fat, and it releases to help our bodies maintain normal weight on a long-term basis. It does it by regulating our hunger by providing the sensation that we're full. I use that word satiety or satiation. Leptin is, leave it alone, girl, you're full. That's the way I can remember. Leptin, leave it alone, girl, you're full. Now, hormones are the chemical messengers that go between our body organs and our body systems, and they're usually on a feedback loop. And so leptin's main function is to regulate that long-term balance between food intake and energy use or expenditure. Leptin helps inhibit hunger and regulate your balance so your body doesn't trigger a hunger response when it doesn't need calories. It acts on the brainstem and your hypothalamus to regulate your hunger and energy balance. Now, the problem is that leptin is produced in our fat cells. And if you are already carrying a lot of fat, anywhere from 15 to 50 pounds overweight, you're producing a lot of leptin. And it makes sense to say, well, if I've got all that much leptin going on, why am I still hungry? Why is that not kicking in to tell me I'm already full? Well, as your body fat decreases, your leptin levels decrease, which signals your body to think it's starving, and that stimulates intense hunger and appetite. It also impacts our metabolism, our immune system function, and it's controlled by the white adipose tissue, body fat. That's the fat that makes and releases leptin. The amount of leptin in your blood is directly proportional to the amount of adipose tissue you have. In other words, the less body fat, the less leptin. The more body fat, the more leptin. And what happens when your leptin levels get too high, because you've got a lot of fat and it's producing a lot of leptins, that feedback loop goes wonky. You've heard of the term insulin resistance? You know, when your body says, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want any more insulin, I don't want any more glucose coming in, and the insulin says, well, I have to deposit it somewhere, and it deposits the extra blood glucose into our fat cells. We call insulin our fat storage hormone for that reason. And your blood cells put up earmuffs. I don't want to hear it anymore, I don't want to hear it anymore, go away. That's insulin resistance, which is a pre-step to type 2 diabetes. We call it metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance. Many people prior to developing insulin resistance have leptin resistance. And these are my clients that are 20 to 50 pounds overweight. If you have leptin resistance, your brain doesn't respond normally. It's got the earmuffs on, and it's constantly stimulated by leptin. And so you don't get that feeling of fullness or satiation. You're like, I can still eat like a bird. I've reduced all my calories and I'm still starving. So this causes you to eat more even though your body has enough fat stores. The seeming lack of leptin is leptin resistance and causes your body to go into starvation mode. I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And so you're looking around to eat all the time. So leptin resistance results in the ability of leptin resistance results in a decrease in the ability of leptin to suppress your appetite or increase your body's energy use. Because of this, the main symptoms of leptin resistance are constantly feeling hungry, craving sweets, emotional eating, feeling hungry all the time, even though you've got plenty of body fat. Now, the other buddy component to our hunger hormones is one called ghrelin, Ghrelin. Ghrelin, or my grrr, I'm hungry. That's the way I remember that one. Leptin, leave it alone, you're full. Ghrelin, grrr, I'm hungry. And it's a hormone produced by our stomach and other parts of our body, the brain, small intestine, pancreas. They all release small amounts of ghrelin. It's the hunger hormone. And it tells your brain, again, in that feedback loop, that you're hungry. It helps increase your food intake and helps you store body fat. It helps trigger your pituitary gland to release growth hormones. It plays a role in controlling our sugars and how our body releases insulin. It has a very protective role for our muscles and our bones. So the difference between ghrelin and leptin, the two hormones that control your appetite and fullness, they're involved in all these vast networks and these feedback loops. Leptin decreases your appetite while ghrelin increases it. Ghrelin is made in your stomach and signals your brain when you're hungry. Your fat cells produce leptin, and leptin lets your brain know when you've had enough energy stored and you're full. Now let's go back to the campfire analogy that I like to teach. When you're going to build a campfire or a fire of any kind, you usually start with kindling, the fast burning energy. But at some point you have to put on a big fat log to sustain that fire over time. Well, ladies, carbohydrates are kindling. They burn up fast. Carbohydrates, cookies, crackers, pasta, bread, toasties, cereal, you burn it up. You cannot sustain energy throughout the day without keep feeding the carbs because they burn up, right? At some point you have to put a log on the fire, and that's our protein and our fats. And that's why when I say when you look at a bowl of food, like you're gonna make a plate, identify your protein first, your fats second, and then lots and lots and lots of green veggies. No starches, no crackers, no pasta, no chips, no bread, no pizza. Those are processed, highly refined carbs that are gonna put on the weight and age you so fast. So we're thinking about ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin says, I'm hungry. What are you gonna feed yourself? You're gonna put a big log on the fire. You might have a little bit of carbs of the good green vegetables. I don't care how many green vegetables you eat. I would want you to eat dozens and dozens every day. And leptin is the one that says, okay, I'm full. Leptin responds to the protein and the fat, helps us feel full. So that's when we're thinking about how these hormones come into play. So ghrelin, making sure that you're hungry, that you need to eat, also says, promotes fat storage. It stimulates the pituitary gland, stimulates our digestive system, very protective role in our cardiovascular health. So kind of interesting. Now there's a third one I'm going to throw in here, and it's adiponectin. Adiponectin is a hormone that affects several metabolic processes and is mainly known for insulin sensitizing and anti-inflammatory effects. Your adipose tissue, that's where the word adipo comes from, body fat, is mainly responsible for producing adiponectin, and other tissues in your body do produce it as well. See, hormones are just chemical messengers. They're going all through the body to tell things what's going on. Adipokines, or adiponectins, are hormones that your adipose tissue makes that plays a function in energy and metabolic process. So if we have lower than normal adiponectin levels, that's associated with obesity, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. Our energy storing cells in our white adipose tissue produce and release this adiponectin. And white adipose tissue is the main type of body fat in the body. So we're looking at insulin escorting blood sugar into our cells, and if there's too much, we've consumed too much in a day, the cells put on earmuffs and say, go away, insulin, I'm insulin sensitive, I don't want any more. And the insulin says, oh, I have to deposit the fat, this energy somewhere, and it deposits it in our fat cells, okay? So we want to make sure that we're consuming more protein and fat to our levels of carbohydrates, so we're providing fuel to build muscle and bone. Carbohydrates are fuel just for energy. And as we age, and we want to age well and age strong, we need muscle mass and bone mass, and then we get that from protein and fats. So if you are 15 to 50 pounds overweight, what do? We know that there are all these gimmicks out there right now, diets that are all based on corn and soy and shakes, and you eat them and consume them all day long. I don't know about teaching you to eat sustainably. There are the new crazy type 2 diabetes drugs out there, Ozempic and Wegovy, I think is the other one, and it's injections, and everyone's talking about how the supplies are being taken up by people that just want it for weight loss, and they don't have diabetes, and so the people with diabetes are frantic because they can't get a hold of it. And it does suppress appetite. It does some things to increase your metabolism, but the downside is those injections are about, I've heard as high as $1,500 a month, and you're on them for the rest of your life. The minute those people get off Ozempic, and I don't know how to pronounce the other one, starts with an S. It's a peptide. They're all peptides. The weight comes right back. It comes right back. It's not teaching you sustainable eating, and it's not working with your body's normal hormones, your ghrelin and your leptin. I, on the other hand, am have been very wary, and stayed away from the whole weight loss world. But I've recently come across a supplement that is all natural, plant-based, and it's patented for weight loss, lowering your leptin, protecting your cardiovascular system, bringing down inflammation. We know that inflammation is our fat cells on fire, which produce all the wrong hormones. And it was patented and it was tested at the University of Connecticut with a group of women, all obese, for 8 weeks. It's a 2-month trial. Half the group took a placebo, walked every day, consumed a lot of water, and kept their calories at 1,500 calories a day. The other group got this supplement 3 times a day right before they ate, drank a lot of water, and just walked. That's all they did. And they lost up to 25 and 30 pounds and 30% of their body fat. And they don't have to stay on it. They can sustain that through proper eating. So if this interests you at all, I'm going to be diving more into this product. It's not shipping yet. I have some on order. And drop me a line. I will send you a private link so that you can look at the information and the research, and would love to help you. If this weight loss for you is stubborn, it's difficult, if you're having trouble with intermittent fasting, staying on track with intermittent fasting, I would really like to encourage you to drop me a line.